Good Erev Shabbos, Parshas Re'eh. It's Erev Rosh Chodesh, Elul. Elul is a month of great closeness between ourselves and Hashem. The famous acronym of Elul, Ani L'Dodi V'Dodi Li, that I am fully dedicated to Hashem, my beloved, and my beloved, Hashem, is fully dedicated to me. This is a time in which we fully, consciously, deeply, and profoundly attempt to reassert our commitments to the Ribono Shel Olam and our commitments to one another in a positive and healthy way. The opening pasuk in this week's Sedra poses great difficulty just trying to read and translate it into English. Or the second pasuk. Rei anochi nosein lefnechem hayom bracha o klala. Today, on this day, see that I give you a bracha, a choice between a blessing and a curse. The pasuk, and that part seems to be clear. But the pasuk continues. Es ha-bracha asher tishma'u el mitzvos Hashem Elokeichem asher anochi mitzaveschem hayom. The bracha that you will listen to me and do and follow the commandments of Hashem. Where's the end of that pasuk? Right? Where's the bracha? The pasuk says there's a bracha when you will listen to the commandments of Hashem. But there is no construction in this verse that actually states that. So I will read it slowly and carefully. Es ha-bracha, the blessing, which I'm guareteeing for you. Asher tishma'u el mitzvos Hashem, that you will listen to my to the mitzvahs of Hashem. This is an unintelligible phrase, and therefore the Rashi immediately comments and says there is an implied conditional statement which is absent. The pasuk really should read as though it says, Es ha-bracha, I will give you this blessing, if, or almanas, on condition that you adhere to the words of Hashem. And that resolves the reading of the pasuk. Problem is, it doesn't actually say that. So is there a more a close reading of the text, which can offer us a clear and logical message without putting in implied words? And here I turn our attention to the Kli Yakar. The Kli Yakar says that there is an intentional ambiguity here. In the next pasuk, the Torah says, if you don't listen to the words of Hashem, there is curse, klala. The klala will come, im lo tishma'u. And the parallel should have been, es ha-bracha, you will get the blessing, im tishma'u, if you will listen. But says the Kli Yakar, Moshe Rabbeinu intentionally said, instead of, if you will listen, you will get the blessing, says that you will listen. In other words, the way the pasuk reads is, you will get the blessing, asher tishma'u, that you will listen. In other words, it is clear, there is no possibility in Moshe Rabbeinu's mind that Bnei Yisrael are going to do anything other than asher tishma'u, that you will listen. In other words, Moshe Rabbeinu is modeling for us here a powerful method in conducting human relations, whether it's parent to children, teacher and student, or colleague and neighbor. And that is that we try to accentuate the positive expectations that we have of another, and that they are capable of meeting those positive expectations. Moshe Rabbeinu says, if you don't listen to the Torah, if you don't listen to Hashem, maybe you won't listen to Hashem. But when he talks about the brachas, about the blessing, if you will listen, he assumes the best of Klal Yisrael. And the blessing will come in that you shall observe the word of Hashem. There is no ambiguity in Moshe's expectation. There is no sense that Klal Yisrael will fail in that statement. It is absolute and definitive. You will rise to the occasion. I have confidence in you, and thus you should have confidence in yourself. Perhaps you feel somewhat tenuous, but I know that you can do it, and I know that you will do it. Moshe imparts this message to Klal Yisrael. And therefore, says the Kli Yakar, that the pasuk reads beautifully, Es habracha, I'm giving you a bracha, asher tishma'u, that you will listen to the words of Hashem. Not if you will, but that you will. Finally, the Ibn Ezra suggests that the question is the answer. What do I mean by that? Es habracha, Hashem says, Moshe says to Bnei Israel, Hashem is offering you a blessing. Asher tishma'u. And you know what that bracha is? The bracha is in listening and adhering and living a life of Ritzon Hashem. That is the bracha. The method, the process, is itself the reward. A person who enjoys what they do, as they say, will never work a day in their life. Moshe Rabbeinu is saying the reward, the bracha, the blessing, whatever may be in the tabulation books, in the olam ha'emes, in the world to come, there is blessing in just living such a life of tishma'u el mitzvos Hashem. That is the bracha. There is bracha in living a life of purpose. There is bracha in living a life of meaning. There is bracha in living a life of joy, of kindness, of giving, of power, of humility. All that comes in a genuine and authentic Torah living experience. And so therefore Moshe Rabbeinu says, sometimes we might look at mitzvos and see them as they are described, ol ha-mitzvos, a burden, a yoke. For indeed, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has many expectations and obligations set upon us. 613 mitzvos is the baseline. It's not the maximum, it's the minimum. And so therefore, one could be forgiven for slipping into a perspective, in a relationship with Torah and mitzvos, such that it feels that it is a burden. And when I get into that dynamic, my initial or my gut feeling is is resistance to that type of experience. Who wants to just live a life of burden? And so Moshe Rabbeinu says, when you feel, or perhaps when you slip into that type of thinking, I'm telling you to step out of yourselves for a moment and remember that the mitzvahs themselves are the bracha. Sometimes when we are so deep into our own life experience, we are unable to see it objectively. A person who has never experienced Shabbos and is given the opportunity to experience Shabbos, wow, how beautiful and joyful it is. But for those of us who do it week in and week out, sometimes we lose that sense, that mindfulness of the joy of what this experience actually is. And so the bracha, says Moshe Rabbeinu, es habracha is asher tishma'u. When you listen to the mitzvahs, when you live a life of Dvar Hashem, that in itself produces a joyful, healthful experience of life, of love, and of living. And that is a bracha. Be'ezras Hashem, may HaKadosh Baruch Hu give us the wisdom, the courage, the mindfulness to be able to feel the experience of the bracha of Asher Tishma'un. Good Shabbos to us all.